Alright gang, I'm answering one of your questions today. I received an email asking me to help Derek find green fragrances because he's running out of a few fragrances that he loves, and he loves green fragrances. So today I'm going to discuss the fragrances that he's currently using, the fragrance he's running out of, and the fragrances that I'm going to recommend him to try. So if you want to find out about green fragrances, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian, and yes, I'm talking about green fragrances today. Green fragrances are some of my favorite fragrances, and he's got a specific type of green fragrance he likes, and I went through his list as well, and I've got a few of them here. Although I know all the fragrances he's using, but I don't own all of them, but the ones I own I'm going to discuss with you in addition to the ones I don't own. And some of them don't go green as much to me, but then every nose is different, so this hobby is very subjective. I can find something to be ambery and you can find it to be not ambery, vice versa. So we smell things completely different. But I'm going to answer his question with suggestions that I have. And we've had a really great green fragrance release recently, and it's one of my favorites. It's Frederic Malle's Synthetic Jungle. But I'll get to the options for me. But before I do get to all the options, if this is your first time tuning in and you still haven't subscribed, please do click the subscribe button below, and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. Let me go ahead and read Derek's email. I'm in search for a new green fragrance. I'm about to be finished with Coven by Andrea Maack. I want to get another green fragrance. Currently I wear Do Son EDP, Afternoon Swim, and Promise by Frederic Malle as well. What green scents do you recommend? My top one so far is Hermes Brin de Reglisse. Let me know what you think. The recommendations can be any fragrances with green nuances, except I would prefer one without a huge floral or a huge citrus punch. Kind regards, Derek. Anyway, I get what he's talking about. He wants green fragrances that are not overly floral and not overly citrusy, the punch that he would receive, on the blast. I suppose that's what he's talking about. So the fragrances I do know, and in fact, Andrea Max Cohen is one that I've wanted to pick up for a long time. And even though when I looked up the notes, it doesn't mention licorice or anise, I do definitely get an anise licorice touch with that fragrance. I definitely do. But the notes, according to where I've got the notes, it says there's Galbanum, Oakmoss, Cloves, Cedar, Vanilla. I'm just assuming that they're definitely forgetting or missing that note, because I've smelled it many times. Dahlia wears it and she loves it, and we featured it together in a video in the past, so definitely pick up that licoricey touch, and I quite like this one. But I think this is perhaps a cheaper style green fragrance. It features that galbanum and the oak moss, so it's mossy and it's green and earthy, but definitely woody, spicy, with aromatic touches and perhaps some light warm touches. But for me, green fragrances don't go too warm, although cloves are a warm spice to me, so there are some light warm touches. But this fragrance I've wanted to pick up for myself and never did, and I don't hear much about Andrea Maack as a brand. How many of you are fans? I'd like to find out. But their fragrances, don't come up too much, but there's definitely a following with the fragrances. The one I do have that he Derek likes, Louis Vuitton's Afternoon Swim. And I don't find this particular fragrance very green. To me, it's more citruses, so this is definitely a citrus punch. It's a blast. It's major, very juicy, citrusy touch, lots of juicy citruses here. It's mostly about mandarin oranges, along with, regular oranges with bergamot, ginger, and ambergris. There is a little bit of a zing here. That ginger provides a beautiful zing, and it's nicely contrasted with the citruses. It really does work together. They do work. And it's a soft zing, a soft spicy, and then you got that ambergris in here. It's a great fragrance, and again, it's not very green to me, but all noses are different. This is more of a fresh summer fragrance that you can liberally spray when it's really hot outside, and smell kind of relaxed with this particular fragrance, and also invigorated kind of a thing. So that's a great scent. Again, not very green to me, but this next one's definitely green, and I have this one as well. This is Do Son EDP, and this is actually all flowers, so I'm a little kind of confused because Derek says he doesn't want the floral, and this is the floral. It's lots of tuberose here. And then he didn't want the citruses, and this is all citruses. So it confuses me. I guess maybe he has these and then he wants something a little different. He doesn't want the major floral, which is this, Do Son from EDP. I mean, Do Son from Diptyque in EDP. And then he doesn't want the major citruses because he already has Louis Vuitton's Afternoon Swim. Do Son EDP, on the other hand, is a great tuberose, kind of in that family of the carnal flower from Frederic Malle. It's got lots of tuberose with orange leaf, like a petitgrain, musk and pink pepper. So it's definitely this white floral bouquet, but mostly tuberose. There's some light jasmine-y undertones in there I'm picking up. Perhaps I'm also picking up some light citrusy florals, but definitely there's a green touch running throughout it. Tuberose to me has a light greenish touch. Orange leaf, definitely green, bitter, earthy, woody, musk and pink pepper. I think it's a great scent, and I can kind of see now he probably wants to get away from fragrances that are too citrusy and too floral. But this next fragrance, Frederic Malle's Promise, it might have light green touches, but once again, this one is not necessarily too green to me. It's mostly boozy, so it's warm, spicy, ambery, and there's floral touches with rose in here. Really delicious. There's a really kind of a boozy barrel-aged kind of quality here. The oak in here, like booze, liqueur aged in oak barrels. So you get that here, definitely. Really beautiful with apples, Turkish and Bulgarian rose, cypriol, pink pepper, patchouli, labdanum, castoreum, ambrox. And so I think what's contributing to this kind of barrel-aged smell is that cypriol note in here, and it comes off like you're macerating or aging apples to make like an apple liqueur kind of a thing. It's a really delicious fragrance from Frederic Malle. Not necessarily overly green to me, not a lot, but it's quite good. So that's Frederic Malle's Promise. And the last fragrance, which I do not own, but I've smelled, is Hermes Brin de Reglisse. So this apparently is his favorite fragrance. This one has a major dosage of licorice, kind of going to the Andrea Maack Coven fragrance as well, which to me has licorice. I didn't see the notes listed there. But Brin de Reglisse, on the other hand, is lots of lavender with licorice. The combination is really nice. I like that combination, but it also has notes of hay. So this is a collection I kind of have dismissed. I wish the collection was Eau de Parfum rather than Eau de Toilette, unless they've changed it since the last time I spoke about this collection. But I think this one is definitely a great scent. I like the combination of lavender and licorice. That smell kind of reminds me of the south of France, and I think they've done a good job with this one. Just I don't own it. But if it's his favorite, he must like licorice. Derek must like licorice in fragrances because it's come up now twice. But in the end, it does have some green touches. For me, licorice does have kind of like a green booziness, and it's prominent. And I think that the greenness from the licorice plus the hay kind of creates a kind of a lightly green fragrance. It's definitely more green than Frederic Malle's Promise, but it's also not necessarily overly green. For me, Andrea Max Cohen and then also Do Son were probably the greenest out of the fragrances that he likes, followed by Hermes Brin de Reglisse, and then maybe a distant behind Frederic Malle's Promise. But to me, Afternoon Swim is definitely not green. But this is a great collection of fragrances to have. And to have some suggestions, I'm going to suggest some great fragrances. My first suggestion is from the house of Rogue Perfumery. This is Mousse Illuminée. Amazing green fragrance. This to me also kind of is in line with Coven from Andrea Maack, but in a different direction. This is lots of Oakmoss, and Andrea Max Cohen had Oakmoss. So I think it's kind of related, and this is definitely satisfactory. It is a unisex targeted release, but I think it's slightly masculine leaning. Has kind of old men's kind of, not necessarily barbershop, but for me this is more of a Chypre style, but I think it's kind of like a fusion of a fougere and a Chypre together. At least that's how it wears on me, but it's fantastic. It has notes of oak moss, artemisia, white flowers, cypress, olibanum, laurels, white musk, and cedar. And to me, that artemisia contributes to kind of like a licoricey touch in here. So good. If you don't know this one, definitely check it out. It's a Chypre style. It's mousse oak moss. does have this kind of like a foamy vibe when you're wearing it, which I really like shaving cream foam kind of a thing. Either way, check that one out. This is definitely my most recommended out of all of them, but I'm going to recommend all of them because I think they deserve the attention, and they're definitely green fragrances. Next one, it's going to be Orazalez Chypre Mousse. Once again, another Chypre fragrance and a green one, and a unique one because in the end, he likes Andrea Max Cohen. He likes Promise from the house of Frederic Malle, Brin de Reglisse, Do Son. I think this would do good. Maybe it's a little too close to Mousse Illuminée. Not quite. This one goes more earthy to me with lots of oak moss, but it also has fennel, mint, green notes, angelica, galbanum, clover, fern, mushroom, soil tincture, but a great fragrance. Once again, you get that kind of foamy, oak mossy kind of foaminess, so it's fluffy, but this one's definitely more earthy. Green, lots of greenness, but earthiness is definitely there with that soil tincture and the mushroom note coming in. But such a great release. It's very unique. It's a different kind of smell, but very wonderful. And it's a Chypre again. Definitely worth trying. So this is Orazalez Chypre Mousse. Try that. I think you should definitely buy samples of all the fragrances that I'm recommending. And definitely if you can sample them in store, definitely go sample them. But if you can't, obviously you're going to have to buy some samples to test them out. The next fragrance I'm going to recommend to you is from the house of Quinto Canto. This is Ensis, this one right here. This one to me does lightly hint at Lombardon Low from the house of Diptyque, but it's a lightly hint. When you compare them side by side, they're different to me, but it's in that ballpark. You know, it's there. It's kind of similar ideas in different directions. You've got green leaves, black currant, metallic notes, musk, pansy, bergamot, and lily of the valley here. Overdose of greenness, which I like. I like this green. It's almost like a garden, vegetation, herb garden, leaves, ivy, all of those, you know, blowing up, and you're getting that whiff of that fragrance kind of a thing here. There is that kind of light metallic touch in here, and it's definitely musky. It's a green overdose. If you like green fragrances, you must check this one. This Quinto Canto also is a sister brand to Tiziano Terenzi, so the fragrance is created by Paolo Terenzi. Anyway, Quinto Canto Ensis is definitely a great green fragrance. The next one I'm talking about is from the house of Les Parfums de Rosine. This is Éloge du Vert. Great green fragrance. This one to me is green bell peppers and contrasted with rose. It's interesting, when I slice, I make a lot of Greek salad, and I'm always like slicing, what do you call it, bell peppers. There is a bell pepper, or green bell pepper, has a kind of a rosy smell. If you guys ever are good with your noses and can kind of like smell things and, you know, match them to other notes, smell green bell peppers. There is a rosiness there. And I get the rosiness and why they're putting rose with green bell peppers for this fragrance, because they do complement one another. But in the end, this one has lots of green bell pepper, black pepper, rose, ginger, patchouli, cedar. Very unique fragrance, very beautiful fragrance, very green fragrance, but contrasted with that rose. It's almost like a rosy salad kind of a thing experience, but really great. I think a lot of these fragrances are kind of salad-like with all the overdose of greenness, and this is beautiful, and it wears gorgeously in the summer heat. But you know, it's a great fragrance to wear all year round. Either way, Les Parfums de Rosine Éloge du Vert. Wonderful fragrance. I don't know if you guys know these houses. I'm offering up some smaller houses because they definitely deserve the attention. Okay, this next one's going to the house of Comme des Garçons. This is Calamus. What a great fragrance. These are so good. These green fragrances are amazing, and I really love this one because it's unique. Calamus is, I think it's known as sweet flag, is that correct? It's almost like this like green vine, not viney, but like, I don't know, some kind of a plant that grows in water, and that's what it's used here. It says bamboo for the notes, but I think Calamus is known as sweet flag. But this particular fragrance, Comme des Garçons Calamus, features bamboo, angelica, celery seeds, red berries, pink pepper. Very green fragrance, green overdose, really yummy. It's Comme des Garçons, so their fragrances are unique, but this to me almost smells like you're taking the green leaves off of a lily, because there's lightly some floral touches in there. but I'm getting like the greenness from the leaves from lilies, and you're wearing it as a fragrance. There's a little bit of a succulent and watery touch running throughout it, and I think it's because of that kind of calamus note that I think it's grows in or near water, so there's a little bit of a watery touch in here. But a beautiful fragrance, wonderful smell, Calamus from the house of Comme des Garçons. So those are my suggestions. I have one bonus. Stay tuned till after the outro. Find out what that is. But I would recommend starting with these fragrances. I think they're great fragrances for you to try. They're definitely green. They're unique. Not overly floral. Not overly citrusy. But just an overdose of greenness. Anyway, guys, let me know if you have any questions or comments with what you watched today. What are your thoughts on the fragrances that Derek already has? And what are your thoughts on the fragrances that I'm recommending for him to check out? If you have other suggestions as well, put a comment down so I can find out what that is or what they are, so I can check them out as well. Either way, thanks so much for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. So I'm glad you stuck around for the bonus fragrance, and I am definitely going to recommend this one. This has actually become one of my favorite fragrances as of late. It's a great smell. It's a green overdose, and it's the fragrance I was mentioning. It's the launch of this year, one of the the great green fragrances, Synthetic Jungle from the house of Frederic Malle. Really like a salad explosion once again. It smells very, very green and vegetal, which I like. It does have flowers, but I think they're not your typical flowers. It's not like tuberose. It's not like rose. It's got hyacinth and it's got lily of the valley. And they're both kind of on the green side. And they kind of blend in with the greenness of every other note. And there is that black currant note in here. And this one, to me, does also hint at L'Ombre dans l'eau. But this one hints at L'Ombre dans l'eau a little more than this, which I mentioned earlier. But to me, again, it hints at it. It's a little different. It's different fragrance. This is a very, very modern experience, whereas L'Ombre dans l'eau, I think it's been around since the 70s. I could be wrong, but I think that fragrance came out in the late 70s. And it does show its age. Although I like that fragrance, I'm not saying it's a negative thing. But this, to me, is fantastic. Very, very green experience, but it has notes of galbanum, basil, blackcurrant, oakmoss, patchouli, hyacinth, lily of the valley, almond, and ylang ylang. If you haven't checked out Synthetic Jungle yet, definitely try it. Definitely a green fragrance. It's a green overdose. Green jungle come to life. But with all the green vegetation, it's humid, hot, and cool at the same time. Wonderful fragrance. I highly recommend it, this one. But the reason I didn't feature it in the main list is because it does have flowers in it. And Derek did not want flowers. But I'm highly recommending it, and I hope he gets to try it. So Synthetic Jungle is my last and final recommendation. Thank you so much for watching today.